Alias is basically a device you put onto your home assistant. So for instance, an Amazon Echo or an Google Home. So right here we have a Google Home, and this weird looking construction on top of it is the Alias. And first of all, what does that? What is it for? Alias is a project or a construction that interrupts the signal between you, yourself, and your home assistant device. You might think, okay, what's that for? Why did I buy a device that I can't even use because I'm disrupting it? The thing the two inventors of this project wanted to do was to give everybody a choice when they want their home device to listen to them and when not. So the two inventors, Bjørn and Tore, they're both in the design area, that's their job basically, and they wanted to design something that would help humans out in deciding and taking control back over what data they want to give to the big data collecting companies like Microsoft, like Amazon, and so on and so on. So that was their plan. And what they came up with is this project Alias. And I already told you it's kind of weird looking. That's not just by chance. Alias is like the modern parasite or parasite of our modern society. That's what they say. So the design and how it was made is basically the process of, it looks kind of like a fungi. And in here, in our presentation, you can see that as well. It's bedded into moss and in some woody area that we have here in our museum. It looks kind of nice, I think, and the inventors took this picture of a fungi, and in particular a cordyceps. And to be honest, cordyceps, they sound super creepy but super interesting. Cordyceps are basically those fungi that are inhabiting insect or an ant, make it do what they want. So they make it go up a tree where the climate for them is perfect. And when they are on the top, they let the ant basically die. So it's a parasite that's inhabiting its host. And that's the idea for Alias that we have here. And those cordyceps, those fungi, are a super important part of the whole system, of the whole system in the woods or wherever they live, because they keep control over how big a population can get, basically, or a part of this controlling mechanism. And that's also the idea behind Project Alias. They want to be a controlling mechanism, or that's one part of it, at least. So the analogy is here that we have this fungi, this cordyceps, that's a host, that's put on the host, in this case, our Google Home, and it's intercepting the signal between us and the Google Home. We're gonna take a listen. Maybe we can hear it with the microphone. Let's take it off. Hang on for a second. That's what the sound sounds like that parasite, the Alias, is putting into the Google Home. So you heard it, it's kind of, you can still hear humans kind of talking or something that sounds like humans, but also like a lot of background noise. Interesting thing here is that they used a frequency range between 80 and 120 hertz for like the sound that they put in, because that's the sound range a human can listen to, and that's also the sound range that your home device is listening to, basically. Good, so I talked a little bit about Project Alias, what it is, what it does, how the designing process came to be, and what like the inspiration for it was. Right now, we're gonna take a look at the guts of this project, into the organs, if you'd like to say that. Right here in front of me, I have two tops, or two organs of such an project Alias, of such an Alias. The first one is still with the 3D printed fungi on top. And here on the inside, you can also already see, right here we have the speakers, and those two speakers are put on top of the listening devices of whatever home assistant you have. And we have the SD card and a Raspberry Pi. That's all you can see on this version. And all the things that I talked about, or like all the materials in general, are super easy to come by if you want to make it on your own. And that was also one of the main things the inventors wanted to have. They wanted that Alias is super accessible and everybody can basically make it. Over here, we have the parts without the 3D printed part. So right here, that's the Raspberry Pi, or two parts of a Raspberry Pi. Basically, a mini computer, a one-board computer, relatively cheap to get, and from what I've heard, it's relatively easy to like connect the whole thing and train the whole thing. What's special about Alias, I'm just calling it Alias because that's the project name. What you can do if you get that, or if you build it yourself, you can give it whatever name you want. So the inventors had two main reasons for developing this thing. The first reason was privacy, of course, or not as a solution for privacy, but to open up a conversation on what privacy means in today's world. But the second one is like customization. If you think about it, it's kind of weird. So if you buy a home device like an Amazon Echo, for instance, or Google Home, what we have here, you have this device in your house that's basically listening most of the time to you, and you have to yell out a brand name every time you want to activate it. And Bjørn and Tore thought about like this human ritual we have that we want to give names to like basically everything. I know people who've named their cars or their houses, whatever. So not just animals and pets and children, but we basically name everything that's kind of important to our lives. And they didn't want for people to have to yell out brand names. They wanted them to, once again, take the control back, decide for themselves what they want the activation word for their device to be. For instance, for Amazon Echo, most of us know like the activation word, Alexa. That's not changeable. So another reason for them to make this project was being able to change the name and to customize the name you want to give it. So if I want to call my device spaghetti because I love spaghetti, that's a thing I can do. And if you take a look at the internet and just type in Project Alias, you will be able to find quite funny commercials and stuff for this thing. Another thing you will be finding is something we're going to take a look at together. And that's the instructables for Alias. Basically, they have this website, and on this website you can find all the information you need to build your own Project Alias. The main components: a Raspberry Pi, speakers, SD cards, wires, so stuff you can buy easily on the internet or maybe even at the local store, electronics store. As of right now, like, these tops are made by a 3D printer. Either you have your own printer at home and you can download the data in, it's like a GitHub open data you can download and let your printer print, or you can also send it to a company that's specialized in printing stuff. So those are the two options that are both pretty available. And they also tell you like some tricks how to print it properly. As you can see here, we have a Google Home and an Amazon Echo. And of course, those two need two different tops for it to fit. They have two different kinds of fungi you can put on top of it. The download links, everything here, and how to assemble it. And of course, for it to be working and for this parasite to know its new name, so let's stick with spaghetti. I want spaghetti to know that it's called spaghetti from now on. I have to train it. How do I do that? I have in here the Raspberry with its SD card where everything is stored and stuff. And I have an app. On this app, I have to train spaghetti to know its name. And the fun thing is, I don't even have to call it a name or a word. I can also make a sound. So I can train my parasite to listen to whistling or whatever sound you want to make. It sounds like fun, but it's also like a real thing behind that is that people who have, for instance, a really strong accent or have speaking impairments, that they have a better access to this kind of technology and to help them out in their lives. So you can train your spaghetti for sounds and for words. Pretty cool. And because it's just one word, it doesn't need a ton of like training data and a ton of repetitions. And another thing, like the app and the Raspberry itself are on a closed system. So that's interesting as well in the context of privacy and keeping track of your own data that you put out. Here you go. So if you want to try it out on your own, feel free to look at the instructables and have a nice day. Thank you.